Hi, I'm Cayleigh from Create with Cayleigh, and today I'm going to show you how to make a pyramid card. This is almost a combination between a card and an album. As you can see, it's really quite thick. It's not something you're going to pop in an envelope. And while it looks quite complicated, it's actually really easy to make. So I'll just quickly show you. I've just punched out some photos from my trip to New York and added them in here. Now each kind of card has some different folds out, place to put receipts and tickets, place to hide extra photos. These sides could quite easily be used for journaling. I've just left them blank for the time being. And then right at the end you've got a place either for to store more notes, or perhaps just to write a nice little message. So I'm going to show you how to make this. Like I said, it is really simple. It's just one of those projects that looks a lot more complicated than it actually is. Now all of the measurements are going to be on my blog, which is www.createwithcayleigh.com, and just for ease and just to save time, I've done all the cutting today. So when you look at this, I think it actually looks like you're making something really complicated, but the base of it is so simple. And to start with, we're just going to take the base of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. Now these are all going to be square. I'm going to start with the largest, which is 6 by 12, and we're going to score this at 6 inches and then go down with the rest. So the next is 5.5 by 11, so we're going to score that one at 5.5. The next piece is 5 by 10, so we're going to score that at 5 inches. Then we go to 4.5 by 4.5 by 9, scored at 4.5. As you can start to see, we're literally just making square cards. So 4 inches by 8, score at 4. 3.5 by 7, scored at 3.5. And then finally we're going to have 3 by 6, scored at 3. Now this is the base of our card. And all we need to do is grab a bone folder and burnish the score lines to make all of our 7 cards. Now you do really want to put quite a lot of pressure on this and have a really nice flat edge, simply because we're layering these on top of each other, so you need them to be quite sturdy and flat, otherwise you're just going to add even more height to the card. And by the time you've added the layers of decoration, it will be quite thick. It's also quite a heavy project, so not something that necessarily you're going to want to post, but definitely makes a great gift. I think this would be perfect for birthdays, weddings, new babies. I've used mine just to highlight a holiday we had. It's not going to be the holiday album, it's just something cute I thought I could give to my husband for the trip we just went on. So if you just layer these on top of each other, you'll see the basis of the card. Now what makes this just a little bit more special is if you layer it up. So I'm simply going to take some layers that I've already pre-cut and layer them on top of each card. Now I'm a big believer in that layers just make cards look just a little bit more polished, a little bit more professional. And with this, they just add some dimension and some height to the project. And I think that's one of the reasons it looks so impressive, in my opinion anyway. So I just used tombow glue. It's my favourite adhesive because you get that wiggle room. And with something like this, when you want a nice symmetrical edge, if you make a little slip, make a mistake, you can easily correct it. Now I will be using tombow to stick each layer down. That's something where you actually could use something like tearing tape, maybe some fast fuse, maybe some red tape, just to get a really strong hold. I just use tombow because I swear by it. I think it's a fantastic glue. So the supplies that I'm using today, I'm using the Painted with Love Designer Series paper and the 12 by 12 pack. You can make this same card with the same measurements using A4, you're just going to use quite a few more sheets. For the card bases, I use 3 12 by 12 sheets, and for the layers, 1.5. So you don't actually use anywhere near as much card as I think you probably would think you do. It is, for the size of the project, it is quite light on cardstock. And with a DSP, you probably use about 3 sheets as well. So nearly finished doing the layers. And then, as I said, we are simply just going to stick this down. And now we have finished all of the layers of the cards, we're going to go backwards by adding these layers. Now, I will put all the measurements for each layer onto my blog, but it is basically 1/4 of an inch smaller than the one before. I will say, just check as you're going along that you are putting the layers so they open the right way. And I call this a pyramid card simply because when it's all stacked up, it reminds me of a pyramid. And I am very obvious when it comes to what I name things. So I say it as I see it. I think it's the northern in me. So this is the bit I think that's the most time consuming, alongside doing the decorating, but it's not really complicated, so there's no major worry. And this colour combination actually reminds me of a rhubarb and custard right now. Does anyone else see that? So nearly there, one more layer to go. A little sludge of glue. I can remove that later with an adhesive remover. And that is the base of the card done. Now you could quite easily leave it like this. You don't necessarily need to add all of the folds inside. If you were doing this just as a card, that's probably as thin as you're going to get it. And you could simply have like messages, notes. If you were doing a leaving card, say, and you wanted a really fancy card, this would be great, as there's lots of space for people to leave notes. I'm going to continue with the layering that I did in the original card, so that you can make it if you wish. Now this side is simple, we just leave this as is. Here we're just going to create a 3 by 6 card in the corresponding colour. Now I'm just going to use some of the scraps that I've had from earlier, if I can get them to fit. So I'm just going to cut 3 by 6 inches and score at 3. And again, just going to adhere this, burnish this quite harshly. I think I've got a dud blade, so well, I just need to replace the blade. So I'm just going to trim away the excess that looks a bit scraggy. And I'm going to adhere this down so that it opens up the other way to this side. And all that will do is, I actually think I have cut that slightly too big. I do apologise. I had my measurements written down in front of me but didn't pay any attention to them. So I'm just going to trim off 1/4 of an edge to make this actually 2 3/4 by 5.5. Let's just stick this back down. And that is the beauty of Tombow glue, that even though I've made that quick mistake, it's easily rectifiable. If it was Tombow, I would be a little bit upset then. Okay, so that then is the second layer. You decorate it up. I'm just going to do the basics before I do the decorating. So I left the second layer just plain, and this one is a fold up one. So again, you need to get a corresponding piece of card, and we're going to make a cut at 4 inches. No, we're going to do 3 3/4, and then score at 3 3/4. then we're going to score at another 3 3/4, which is 7.5, and then finally 11 1/4 we're going to cut at. So we're going to fold the card again, burnish it nice, and simply layer this down on the, not the second, the third. So I find quite often if your glue is running out, you just give it a few taps and it comes to the top. I think this one might be a little bit too run out though. Let's see. There we go. There's always glue left. So there we go. That's the next layer done. And then moving back to the original, cut to 4 1/4 by 8 that one away. And this one is just an open pocket style. And this one obviously is just a gatefold. So we need to make 2 scores. One at 2 1/8, and then one at 6 3/8. And then we would simply just gatefold that inwards. Now to make the belly band for the receipt, I simply just took a scrap of paper that width and stuck that in. I did decorate it first though, so I'm not going to do that just yet. Just checking my measurements. And I'm just going to stick this down. So for the next layer we are going to do just a one-sided flap. Now this is 4 3/4 by 7 1/8. Just enough on this piece of card. And you really can get most of these from the scraps of card from earlier on. So give that a cut and we're going to score at 2 3/8. Just fold that over, burnish and stick that down. Now, what uses for this can you think of? What would you make it for? What type of occasion? I think this would just be a great present just for anyone. So our final page is a big flip over. So here, because of the size, I've actually just cut separate pieces of cards, and I cut a piece of card into 3 sections and laid it on top of each other to get that big panel effect. So this is 5 1/4 by, so I need to score it at 6 first, sorry. So if you score at 6 then you can get 2 out of the same section, and we're just going to score at 5 1/4 and another one at 5 1/4. And then we're going to score both of these on the 5 1/4 edge, so on the 6-inch edge. Let me just check I'm doing that correctly. So on the 6-inch edge we're going to score at 3/4 on both of them. And then we're going to cut another piece of card that is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. And then this will layer on top of the 2. So we're going to burnish these score lines. and we are going to stick these two down onto this one piece of card like so. And this will just mean that you have a really nice big long piece of cardstock, which you wouldn't be able to get with 12 by 12 because you would need much bigger cardstock, and we don't sell that. So if you do want to get any of the supplies and you're in the UK, please get in touch. I'd be so happy to have your custom. And if you are in the Hampshire area, then please come along to one of my classes because we make projects like this. There. So we're just going to adhere this to the base. Put a little bit more glue on this one simply because it's quite heavy. And I'm just going to adhere it down. And for the final page on this one, all I did was create another tab. So put the DSP down and just layered that on the sides, but again you need to do that once you've decorated. I will just pop I did do a base layer on this one, and it's just 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. Now I'm not going to decorate this on camera, but I will put the measurements on my blog of all the pattern paper sizes that you need, so you can recreate it. However, it's really up to you how you decorate it. As I mentioned earlier, you could have this for your message, and these all could just be decorated with different stamps. It doesn't necessarily need to be for photos. Now to close this down, as you can see, when you have your DSP in the album and you have all your photos, it goes in a lot bigger size. So it's a lot flatter if you keep it just to that one layer, and it builds up and up the more layers you add. So for a belly band, I just used the large letter framelit dies and created an NY for this. This is for my New York trip, and simply just with a bit of ribbon and tied it shut. What I would probably do if this was a gift is I would put this into a box as well, simply so it's nice contained. And all I did was just add little journals and some of my favourite photos using the 2-inch punch and the Starburst punch, because while I wanted the photos to be one of the focuses, I also loved the DSP, the pattern paper. I just didn't want to waste it. I wanted you to really see the different images, so the different patterns. I will note on this pattern, I had the ombre effect going down. I really liked that, and I did the same at the back here. I thought it was a really good effect. So that is how you make a pyramid card. And it is, I mean, it's a bit of a labour of love once you've decorated it. It took me about 2 hours to complete this one, but I think it's really worth it. This is just a holiday, but I think if you were giving it as a gift for a wedding, or perhaps for a hen party would be a great one, then it's really worth the effort you go to. So I so hope you enjoy the tutorial. If you liked it, please hit like and subscribe, and check out the blog for the measurements. Thank you so much and have a great day.